Testimony of Ida Hippock. The Titanic had keeled to one side and was slowly sinking. Less than 20 minutes after we touched the water, we heard two loud explosions. The explosions occurred almost simultaneously. The giant ship quivered from stem to stern. It parted almost in the centre and slowly sank. The last I saw of it was a single smokestack, which remained above water for several minutes.
Testimony of Jack Thayer. She was pivoting on a point just aft of midship. Her stern was gradually rising into the air. The last one was about on the surface on the water. I do not believe it fell. Her deck was turned slightly towards us. Great after part of the ship. 250 feet of it rose into the sky till it reached a 65 or 70 degree angle. Here it seemed to pause and just hung for what felt like minutes. Gradually she turned her deck away from us. We were gradually being sucked in towards the great pivoting mass. I looked upwards. We were right underneath the three enormous propellers. Then with a deadened noise, she slid quietly away from us into the sea. Testimony of Edward Bewley. She went down as far as the after funnel, and there was a little roar as though the engines had rushed forwards, and she snapped in two, and the bow part went down and the after part stayed up 5 minutes before it went down. It was horizontal at first, then went down. We could see the after part had floated. There was no forepart to it. Think she must have passed where the bunkers were. She parted at the last because the after part of her settled out of water horizontally after the other part went down. First of all, you could see her propellers and everything. Her rudder was clear out of water. You could hear the rush of machinery when she parted in two, and the after part settled down again, and we thought the after part would float together. The after part uprighted herself for about 5 minutes, then tipped over and disappeared, going down head foremost, not on the side. Testimony of Patrick Dillon. Question: Before the ship actually went down, did she make any movements? A. Yes, she took one final plunge and righted herself again. She gave a plunge and righted herself again? Yes. Did you notice anything about funnel? Not then. Did you notice afterwards any note? Did you afterwards notice something about funnel? Yes. What? When she went down? Was that what you, after you had left the ship? Before I left the ship. What did you notice? Well, the aftermost funnel seemed to cant up towards me. Did you get the idea that the ship was breaking in two? No. When you came up again, after you were sucked down, you told us you were sucked down and came up again. Was the ship still floating then? No. She had sunk when you came up again? Well, what I thought would be the after part of her coming up and going down again final. I saw what I thought would be the after part of her coming up and not going down again final. When she had not sunk, she came up and went down again. You saw what you thought was the after part coming up again? I thought it was the ship coming up again. She came up and went down again. Finish. Testimony of George Crowe. After getting clear of the ship, the lights were still burning very bright, but as we got away, she seemed to go lower and lower, and she almost stood up perpendicular, and her lights went dim, and presently she broke clean to probably 2/3 of the length of the ship. 1/3 of the after funnel sticking up. The after part floated back, and then there was an explosion. The after part turned on end and sank. Testimony of John Collins. Were you in the water after you came up above the surface of the water? You saw the lights on Titanic. Just as I came up to the surface, sir. Her bow was in the water. She had not exploded then. Her bow was in the water, and I looked around and saw the lights. Had she broken in two? Her bow was in the water and her stern was up. But you did not see her break. You did not think she had parted and broken in two? Her bow was in the water. She exploded in the water. She exploded once in the water, and her stern end was well up. Well, sorry, it was up out of water, and with the explosion of water, it blew her stern up. You saw it while it was up? Yes, saw her stern up. How long? I'm sure it floated for at least a minute. The lights were still burning. No sir, the lights was out. If it was dark, how could you see? We were not too far off. I saw the white of the funnel. Then she turned over again and down she went. Testimony of Frank Evans. Parted between the third and fourth funnels. The foremost part was gone. It seemed as if all the engines were all gone out. After the forepart had disappeared, the stern came up and was horizontal within the surface of the water. From the after funnel to the ensign mast, about 200 feet was afloat. You could see that in the outline. Then she made a sudden plunge forward and the stern went up. The stern was afloat about 4 or 5 minutes in that horizontal position. Testimony of George Sinnams. I stood and watched till I heard 2 sharp explosions in the ship. What they were I could not say. Then she suddenly took a top cant. Her stern came well up then. That's the time when I saw all her lights go out. All her lights. The next thing I saw was her poop. As she went down like that, her poop righted itself and I thought to myself, the poop is going to float. It could not have been more than 2 or 3 minutes after that her poop went up as straight as anything. There was a sound like steady thunder as you hear from an ordinary night at a distance, and soon she disappeared from view. The poop righted itself without the bow. In my estimation, she must have broken in half abaft the after expansion plate. Several survivors mentioned they could see everything forward of the fourth funnel gone. If the fourth funnel had fallen, it would be difficult to tell whether the ship had broke. At this time in the sinking, Patrick Dillon was actually drunk as he had brandy 30 minutes earlier or so based on my research. He could have mistook it as something else or been having hallucinations. Fourth funnel remains near the stern, so I think it disintegrated during the descent. The force of the water pushing the funnel underwater was enough to rip it from its base. Final simulation. Hope you all enjoyed my funnel analysis video. I used 25 survivor accounts for it. Hope you find it informative and helpful for research on Titanic. See you in the next video.